Hey there, it's Susan Pierce Thompson, and welcome to the weekly vlog. This vlog comes out on Wednesday, which as I shoot this right now is tomorrow. It is Tuesday night, and I just got off a 4-hour live workshop that I co-hosted with Everett Considine on parts work, internal family systems, parts work. And I explained what parts work is. I gave the history of it. We talked about it in the context of Bright Line Eating. Everett gave a great presentation on the various forms of resistance that people can have, resistance to even starting Bright Line Eating, resistance to starting. And I know that there are people who watch this vlog who've been, they're still here, but maybe you still here, but haven't ever done the 14-day challenge or the boot camp, some kind of resistance to starting Bright Line Eating, but still showing up to check it out a little bit, resistance to getting past a certain point in the Bright Line Eating journey. Oh my gosh, for some folks, they sign up and then there's resistance that keeps them from getting through the planning and preparation process. The first few things you got to do. You got to buy your digital scale and you got to, those things, clean out your kitchen, take your before pictures. Some people never get through the initial checklist. A lot of people, it turns out. And there's resistance all the way through, resistance to getting support, resistance to connecting and making relationships with people in Bright Line Eating, finding that community and that connection, resistance to finishing the job. We call that finish line anxiety, hovering, 10, 15, 20 pounds, 5 pounds, 100 pounds above goal weight, having lost some amount of weight, but not ever breaking through a certain number or not ever sort of really landing the plane at maintenance, resistance to maintenance. There's another one. So on this workshop that we did, we had planned to demonstrate some actual parts work, like really getting in and discovering a part, dialoguing with a part, and creating a shift, like some sort of transformation or change. And when Everett and I were planning this workshop, we were on the phone and I said, I got something we could work on. And I knew that it was vulnerable even right then. But I also knew that I would go through with it. And I did. I got really bejiggity as I was preparing to have Everett do this work with me, and he had to stop me and do a centering meditation because I was spinning so hard. It was pretty vulnerable. I think why it was so vulnerable is that my lines have been bright now for almost 2 years. Next month, September 14th, 2021, God willing and the creek don't rise, knock on wood and all that jazz, will mark 2 years of consecutive bright lines for me. That's after nearly 4 years of struggling, getting some days up bright consecutively and then eating off plan again in rounds and rounds and rounds for almost 4 years. And prior to that, I had a stretch that was 8 years consecutively bright and that sort of thing, like back in my past, but and a couple years and another time a couple years, I've had years up before, but I think I picked up the food in the summer of 2015. That's pretty soon after founding Bright Line Eating, and struggled mostly, on and off from then for a long time. And so during that time of struggle, I was really in practice, coming on camera, being honest with you about where I was at with my food, using it as a teaching lesson. And I was frequently teaching from a place of either having just been in the food or being in it right then. I was frequently teaching from that place. And frankly, it's just been a while since I've shared from that place. And the issue that I brought up on the webinar was about restaurants. Eating in restaurants, and my behavior in particular when eating in restaurants, a pattern that I've been in really most of my whole time doing this. I started no sugar, no flour, weighing and measuring my food, 3 meals a day back in May of 2003. So as I stand here right now, it's been longer than 18 years. And, I've been in my bright body for a long time. But this challenge in restaurants has been a through line. It has been consistent. And what it is I don't eat sugar, I don't eat flour, I don't eat different than the categories of food I have. So for example, because I'm pretty small, sometimes I get a grain at dinner at maintenance and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I take that grain out because my weight will creep up if I have it in. And so for example, even though sometimes I have a grain in and sometimes I don't, if I don't have a grain in my food plan right then on that day, I will not order a grain, and I won't eat rice, I won't eat potatoes in the restaurant, right? So I won't fudge the categories, but I'll order oilier things, or I'll eat, probably my honest eyes would say, too much food, right? And the problem with that is that it keeps weight on me that I don't want on me by a little bit, right? And so it's a form of finish line anxiety in its own way, even though in a way I have landed the plane at maintenance and all my clothes, in my closet are one size and so forth. But anyway, it was vulnerable for sure to go on camera with Everett with my eyes closed, let him take me into a deep place and to really speak honestly about the parts of me that are present in that dynamic. But here's what's neat. I thought that I had done a vlog on this before, and sure enough, I have. So if you backtrack all the way to 2016, early 2016, this was before I ever had done any parts work. I knew about Everett Considine at that point in my life, but I had not formed a bond with him nor done any parts work with him. It was a little bit after that I think I did my first parts work session with him. And I didn't know the IFS model of the psyche, and I didn't know that I was operating from parts of me that had a particular need, a particular perspective. I was still thinking of the voice that sort of drives us to eat off plan as the saboteur, sort of a demon or a nemesis or a sabotaging force in the brain. I knew about it from a brain perspective, but not from a mind perspective. I didn't yet understand the structure of the human mind as being comprised of parts. And so in early 2016, I tried to address this restaurant issue. And I came on camera and I said, I'm doing a 3-month restaurant pledge, a restaurant challenge. I will be honest in restaurants for 3 months and I will track it and I will report back to you. And sure enough, 3 months later, in June of 2016, I shot a vlog that was an honesty check-in, checking in on how the restaurant experiment had gone. And it's so interesting now, fast forward, that I just did this really, really deep parts work. And I kind of want to do the experiment again, a before and after. It's like, well, that was the experiment before I had parts work in my life. And now I want to do a 3-month restaurant challenge again with parts work in my life. Now, if you watch, I have attached below this video, you can click to see the workshop that Everett and I just did. Because I predict this one's going to work. I mean, I don't know, but I got a good feeling about this. It's very deep, the work that we did, and you can watch it for yourself if you want to click below. It's a full workshop too. We talk about, if you don't know what IFS is, if you don't know what I mean by parts work, like not really, if you couldn't explain it to somebody, like here's what we mean by parts work. If you don't know why that model of the psyche is more useful as a way to think about a human being and a human being's mind than other ways of thinking about a human being, watch this video down below. We explain all of that. It is so helpful. So helpful. Yeah. So I pledge to you that I will take the very simple steps that Everett suggested in this webinar, just to follow up and give my parts the support that they need. And I will come back in 3 months. I will come back in 3 months before the end of this year, before the end of 2021. I will come back and let you know how my behavior in restaurants has been. And yeah, whether this session that I did with Everett solved the problem. The thing about watching this down below is also that we talk about, it's really what it is a witnessed parts work session. Now, Everett Considine has been doing these witnessed parts work sessions with people in our community for a long time. And if you're a Bright Lifer, you have access to a whole like library of witnessed parts work sessions. And when you watch, you will experience how incredibly powerful it is. It's almost as if you're witnessing someone getting therapy, but the therapeutic landscape is one that you've got too. And so it's so helpful to watch and listen as someone's landscape gets uncovered, and then those parts get worked with and shifted. If you haven't had a lived experience with listening in as someone does a parts work session, a witnessed parts work session, this is your chance. This is also the week that Brightline Freedom is available for registration. We offer this course historically once a year, and I don't know if or when it will be offered again. This is an historic week where you can partake of Brightline Freedom. This is the course that teaches you parts work. It teaches you how to heal deep wounded parts. It teaches you how to do parts work sessions with yourself, by yourself, or with a buddy, and take them through a session and they can take you through a session. It teaches you all about all of these parts that are in play in the Brightline eating journey. The food indulger, that's the saboteur, essentially. That's the part of us that drives us to eat addictively, to eat off plan. The food controller, the part of us that's trying so hard to keep our food in check, right? The rebel part, the part that says, no way. Maybe that says no way to starting Brightline eating. That's the rebel part, okay? The caretaker, the part of us that puts others' needs ahead of our own, that would rather eat food that's harmful to us than risk hurting another person's feelings. That's the caretaker part. The wounded child, right? The wounded child. We all have wounded parts that have been created at various important and sometimes very traumatic junctures in our lives. And I talk in this workshop, I mentioned something pretty profound about healing, and I told a little story about one of my parts being healed. So you'll find that there too. So if you want to register for Brightline Freedom, the link below will take you to this workshop. It'll take you to the concierge page right now. If you're watching in real time and Brightline Freedom is open for registration, it'll take you to the concierge page where you can watch this workshop and you can register for Brightline Freedom. And you can also explore and partake of the other amazing goodies, including some pretty powerful testimonials that are available right now on that page. Brightline Freedom is an incredibly powerful course. I've done it twice. I cannot recommend it highly enough. And it's life-changing beyond the food. It's life-changing for any kind of stuckness or resistance or challenge or difficulty, behavioral pattern in intimate relationships, in friendships, with family members, in career, with money, and with anger issues, with emotional challenges, with any of that stuff. This is, in my opinion, as someone who taught psychology courses at colleges and universities for 18 years, someone who's done research on the brain and the mind, has a PhD and a postdoc and all this background, in my opinion, it is the most potent tool for psychological wellness and healing and shifting challenging behavior patterns or emotional patterns in healing deep-seated wounds. It is the most powerful tool. So that is a free link to get an amazing education on what I'm talking about. This vlog can only scratch the surface. So I invite you to click below, partake of that workshop, really consider signing up for Brightline Freedom. Again, this is our deep dive on parts work. It comes around once a year, and this is that time. So click below. I'm a little nervous about you watching, my witness parts work session because it was pretty vulnerable. But I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll be moved. And I know you'll learn a lot if you check out that workshop. And that's the weekly vlog. Click below. I'll see you next week.